So here is the Attorney General for Louisiana. Now, the Attorney General for Louisiana and Missouri has filed a lawsuit against the federal government over censorship. And what this guy has to say is pretty interesting. So I'm going to play his speech because he, through their lawsuit, through their investigation, they found out about how YouTube is censored, has been asked to censor, and is censored. So that's the interesting part. Let's listen. And I also think it's funny. This guy's a lawyer. He went to law school, passed the bar, ran for office, beat his opponent, and is now the Attorney General of Louisiana and has a hard time reading and talking. Let's watch.
Government censorship case, Louisiana and Missouri versus Biden. Since I was sworn in as the Attorney General in 2016, I have been ringing alarm bells about big tech. In fact, in 2018, I led a bipartisan discussion of attorney generals about the dangers that I saw regarding big tech. It was a bipartisan, multi-state coalition. Back then, the big story was the election of President Trump. And some were quick to blame social media platforms, especially Facebook, for enabling fake news to spread. Then social media was actively used to tip the scales in President Biden's favor in 2020 by censoring real news, such as the Hunter Biden laptop story, among others. Despite all of this, federal agencies have been allowed to co-opt these private companies and use social media platforms to infringe upon the First Amendment rights of Americans. Let's look at the COVID-19 pandemic. During that time, Facebook had close to 3 billion users worldwide, with roughly 124 million in the U.S. alone. In 2021, 66% of U.S. adults used Facebook, while 23% used Instagram. Over 500 million tweets were posted daily during the pandemic by more than 340 million users on Twitter. On YouTube, roughly 500 hours of video content were uploaded every minute, with more than 4 billion hours of video viewed each month. More than 72% of U.S. adults used the platform. Why is this important? Because our lawsuit has uncovered a censorship enterprise that spans numerous government institutions and all major social media platforms. And that censorship enterprise has been widely successful in achieving its goals. White House Director of Digital Strategy, Robert Flattery, was impressed when YouTube reported their success in reducing watch time of borderline content by 70%.
So I've told you this story before. So because once you reach a certain threshold of subscribers, they provide you with a liaison from YouTube, and they're supposed to be there to help you grow your channel, and everybody makes more money and becomes more prosperous. And so I had 2 liaisons at the same time, different from the one I have now. And I asked them about the algorithm and why we're being suppressed. And they're like, we're not, just there's one algorithm for everybody. I go, there's not one algorithm for everybody.
Well, let's say there is. Why is it set to screw you?
I go, obviously we were killing it before. We've seen our numbers go down. Everyone sees what's happening. And then people like MSNBC and CNN, their videos are taking off. No one ever watched those videos
They
on YouTube
openly
before.
say authoritative sources they're boosting.
So that's what happened. So then after these guys, our liaisons, convinced, they were adamant that there's only one algorithm. The next week, the head of YouTube gave a speech where she bragged about how they have this new algorithm that suppressed 70% of the borderline content. And then when the next meeting I had with them, I presented that to them, and they were like, yes, that was unfortunate that she said that. Oh, really? So now what kind of a fucking conversation am I supposed to have with you?
Unfortunate she said that. Not that they did that.
Right.
That she said
that
it.
she said that. So now what kind of a conversation I'm going to have? You're just bullshitting me. The whole show I do on YouTube is about breaking through propaganda and bullshitters.
Well, that's borderline.
Yeah, that's borderline.
What does that mean?
And here, so this guy's, YouTube reduced watch time of borderline content by 70%.
Wow.
And that's what we're considered. We're considered borderline content.
Wow. I like how these are the borders that they do care about.
Yeah.
Not.
And so here's an attorney general of two attorney generals of two big states, and they're calling this out in Congress. So at least somebody's calling it out somewhere. Let's listen. He has a little bit more info.
This is what we found in our case. The FBI claims a success rate of 50% in getting platforms to censor content flagged as misinformation. The Election Integrity Partnership, now known as the Virality Project, bragged that 4 major platforms they worked with all had high response rates and that 35% of URLs shared with Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube were either labeled, removed, or soft blocked.
So look at this. So that's the White House, that's the FBI, and then that's a governmental cutout working out of Stanford University that's being funded by the government. And they're all bragging about how they're effective at suppressing people like us. This is your government working against you. This isn't Russia. This isn't Saddam Hussein. This isn't Assad. This is your government working against you with the most powerful media companies in the world. And thank God there's somebody in government who cares. Somebody. Now, a lot of people will say that you're not supposed to care about it because that guy's a Republican. So
It's also, they're not effective. Nobody's watching the authoritative sources. There are very few people left who watch that. It's all like the oldest people or the richest people. That's it. Or
Yeah.
like the Georgetown area.
So let's see if he has some more to say.
As a result of this collusion between social media companies and the CDC, NIH, NIAID, American citizens, scientists, and journalists were shadow banned, censored, silenced, and deplatformed for their valid concern about lockdowns, masks, COVID vaccines, and more. Robert Kennedy Jr., the nephew of a president, the son of the former U.S. Attorney General of this country, the nephew of a distinguished U.S. Senator who, by the way, was a Democrat, was censored. Tucker Carlson, who hosted the top-rated primetime television news, was also censored, as so were millions of Americans, while deceitful and manipulative voices like Dr. Anthony Fauci were elevated. This censorship enterprise knows no bounds, and it's not limited in scope to COVID-19 or elections. Yet many of the committee members will sit here today and say, what can we do?
So this is climate disinformation, abortion-related speech, gender disinformation, economic policy, medication about abortion, the origins of COVID-19, the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, racial justice, the nature of U.S. support for Ukraine, the financial services industry, anti-discrimination. These are all things that were censored.
The withdrawal from Afghanistan and the financial services industry, those stick out as kind of a bizarre thing that would be on the list with the gender disinformation.
I
remember there was a time you couldn't say stuff about Venezuela when they wanted to invade Venezuela. No matter whatever they want to invade, you can't say the truth.
The federal government to heal.
So this guy's
one in this chamber.
So this is his big idea is to fire these people and take away their pensions to people who did this. It's never going to happen, but
No one in this chamber, on both sides of the aisle, should be opposed to that. And I applaud this body's efforts and the chairman for passing the Protecting Speech and Government Interference Act. However, I would offer that it just doesn't go far enough. And I would ask those on the left to join in making it tougher. The time has come when we must hold federal employees and contractors and federal actors accountable by terminating both their jobs and their retirement for violating the First Amendment of American citizens.
So he would say you got to fire all those people at the Stanford, fire all the people at the FBI, fire all the people in the White House who did this, and take away their pensions. Okay.
If they participate in violating American citizens' First Amendment rights, and that's what a court finds, then those are the penalties that should be imposed.
If a court finds that they violated the First Amendment rights of American citizens, then they should have a penalty. I agree with them.
This chamber should also draft legislation that will open a pathway for legal liability for such conduct, so that American citizens have a right of action.
So, and he's also saying we should open up a way for people to recover if they were damaged by their freedom of speech being infringed by the government actors like this. There should be a way for they can sue and recover.
It's their own government in protecting their, and I repeat, their First Amendment rights. There must be a penalty, or this problem will never be solved. And if you would like to understand exactly how bad this problem has become.
Okay, so then he goes on to talk about his pamphlet. So it's good to see that Louisiana and Missouri, they know about the censorship. They did an investigation. They know what's happened. And it's anti-American. And and it's amazing to see all the people who used to be Bernie Sanders supporters or still are go along with the authoritarian bullshit. It's crazy. And it's because they think that they're going to censor the bad guys who are going to say mean things to them. And I'm not
emergency,
kidding.
Jimmy. I like these are the same people that, in those internment camps for Japanese Americans that seemed like kind of a bad idea.
Yep.
They're at the time like, it was a war we had. What can we do? We had to do that. Where America was in danger. It never changes.
Go to jimmydore.com to see my new stand-up special, COVID Lies Are Funny. For only $10, you get to become a premium member, too. And come see us do our live shows. We're going to be doing stand-up comedy in Milwaukee, Nashville, Honolulu, Los Angeles, Northampton, Massachusetts, Syracuse, New York, Cohoes, New York, Hartford, Connecticut, Baltimore, Maryland, and more. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets.